the only reason I'm saying it like this toward you is because you made a definitive statement. You said, I think it's good for business and bad for people specifically. So let me ask you a question. Have you found anything good personally from being on social media the last 6 months?
If I'm looking at what I'm doing as a business, yes. As a business.
Personally.
I know what you're trying to say. We're not gonna get
you see what I'm saying? Bro,
He trying to walk him to the ledge. He trying to walk him to the ledge.
Jeff will throw a point out there a lot of times, and then he won't want to back off it. It's just like, no, like, you can't tell me I'm wrong. Come on, my guy. Like, nah.
Walked him right out there to the ledge.
Come on,
Walked
dude.
him out there
like,
perfectly.
what are you talking? Oh, yeah. Damn.
Come on, dude.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Introspect Room. It's another great day.
Welcome, everybody. Thank
Welcome.
you for being here.
Thank you all for being here. My name is Jeff Damisse,
I'm Michaelangelo Garland.
and this is the Introspect Room.
Hey.
This podcast has been a tremendous experience for us, right?
Yeah, man. It's definitely been a journey getting here.
A journey.
But,
If that's a cute way of saying it. You know what I mean? Between like cameras and microphone sound, like we turned into a full production studio in like the snap of a finger. Like, what are we talking about here?
I call that a journey. We made it happen.
I call that no sleep.
Telling me, bro. Come on.
I call that no sleep, guy. No sleep.
Driving into the Bronx. Come on.
Listen,
But we're here, regardless.
but you know
We're
what?
here.
Listen, it's crazy. Like when you're doing a podcast, like, you know, and I'm glad I have the guests that I have on this episode, because, you know, without this person, like, there's a lot of things that I was a little hesitant about that, you know, he kind of shed some light on. But when you're doing a podcast, like, nobody really tells you like the amount of like painstaking like situations you'll have putting it together, and especially someone as meticulous as myself that you go through it. Like, there's so many podcasts that are popping up right now, but the quality that we're looking for is a bit different. So it puts us through a different lens, right?
For sure. I mean, at the end of the day, it's another experience. It's another learning experience.
Right.
And we're figuring it out. It's been a little frustrating, but at the end of the day, those frustrations are still moving us a step closer to getting where we want to be. So
But listen,
we're here.
We're good. We're good right now.
We're here.
We're good. We're in a good place. We got a good drink, right? What did you pour me? Because you've been pouring me drinks like all day. What is
This
this?
is just a little whiskey.
A little whiskey?
Yeah.
You don't even know which whiskey. I got a few whiskeys over there.
It was your birthday.
Yeah,
bro. You had a party.
for
There's
those
a
who
lot
are
of whiskey
listening,
over there.
I hosted a party yesterday. We had a lot of liquor. We had a lot of food, a lot of barbecue. I hired a chef, hooked it up on the grill. It was good. It was a good time.
It was fun.
It was a good time.
Definitely a good time.
Listen, I want to talk about my next guest here who's on the show. I'm very, very happy to have this individual on the show for many reasons. Reason number one, like I'm not a social media guy, right? I'm not. A lot of people who know me. And during COVID, during the lockdown, I decided to divulge into social media, where I found Clubhouse. I actually found Clubhouse before I found Instagram, believe it or not. It was like the other way around.
Right.
You know, I ran into this individual, and through that, I also came across this person's podcast that I'm low-key addicted to. Like every Tuesday, I'm like, when's it gonna drop?
Fire. It is fire.
Sometimes I wake up in the morning, I'm like, why isn't the episode out yet? Fuck. Like, what's he doing to me right now? You know what I mean? Like, seriously. And when it's on, I'm like, oh, my drive to work is gonna be amazing. It's highly entertaining. Those group of guys, man, it's the kind of conversation that, you know, I think a lot of men lack, because they have a lot of like poor influences of people. When you have
it's the kind of conversation that everybody wants to be a part of.
But they don't even really know how to have. So that's why I'm very happy to have this individual on this. I don't want to call it stage. This is not Clubhouse, but this is our platform, right? This is our podcast. So I'm happy to have Trill AC, who is joining us from the Krew Season Podcast. Welcome, Trill, what's up, man?
Welcome, my brother.
Welcome.
It's good to see you again.
Hell of an intro, man. Hell of an intro. How you boys doing?
Doing all right, man. Doing all
Hey,
right.
we're working it out, man. We're working it out for sure.
See it, man. I love the setup, man, for sure.
Yeah. I want you to give the audience a good introduction to yourself. I'm sure a lot of people know you already, but we're trying to extend your reach, as well as a bunch of things we're doing for ourselves as well. So introduce yourself to our audience so that way they get familiar with you. Go ahead.
Hey, definitely, man. I'm Trill AC, founder of the Krew Season Podcast. That's Krew Season with a K on all streaming platforms, where we discuss relationships and life and culture and just, I don't know, just the experience of growing up in the age group of between 20 and 45 weekly, every Tuesday. So, yeah, man, I'm just a regular guy, man. I got my start on social media, caught a little traction there, and picked it up and turned it into a podcast, man. And now, we're currently ranked, I think, like top 30 in the country in terms of relationships. So that's real big. I never seen it getting here, but definitely, man.
Right on.
That's amazing.
Now you're recording on your end too, yeah?
Right.
Beautiful.
Come on, man. He's a professional. He's got this.
Listen, I didn't know.
You think he didn't know?
I don't know. So true.
They're asking us that.
Hey, listen, we should be asking ourselves that question. Listen, we've been doing a lot of drinking. Don't mind us. So Trill, listen, so one of the things I'm very happy about having you on the show is like, when I listen to your podcast, right, and how dynamic you guys are, you guys touch on a lot of things that I relate to, a lot of people relate to. And part of the reason why I'm on Clubhouse is I get to engage with the people who are having these conversations. And I always want to be like, I want to know what it's like to talk to these guys, like to just get a feel for like where their mind's at, to really go back and forth and see, that energy, right? So that's part of the reason why I'm very happy to have you on here, because I'm like, a lot of the questions I always wanted to ask about your show, about you, and so forth, we're going to have an opportunity to dig into that.
Right.
So one of my questions to you is, I listen to a lot of your episodes. Let me rephrase that. I listen to all your episodes. Right?
So I appreciate
it.
it.
And I see a lot of commonality in some of the questions your viewers are asking, and to the point where you guys are halfway annoyed at the repetition of the same issues, that especially these relationship questions. It's like it's the same people with the same toxic problem, and they keep asking the same question. I don't know if it's because they haven't seen the answers from the other 100 people that asked it, or there's an issue in our community of people that consistently have the same problem, but they just don't get it. Like, give me an idea. Like, what are some most common things you hear from your listeners, or you hear from your listeners that is just like nauseum? It's just like, how many times we're gonna go through this?
Man, for the women, I think the main question that they typically ask is, hey, a guy's being very inconsistent with me. He's showing up one minute, next minute he's kind of ghost, or whatever the case may be. We've been dealing with each other for a couple years, and I'm just unsure about where this is going. I just hope you guys can shed some light on, like, maybe how my mindset should be in terms of him, right? That's the main question we get from women. And from guys, it's a situation to where it's like, okay, hey, bro, I finally got my money up, like y'all be talking, and this, that, and the third, and now I got 3 different women I'm trying to choose from, or who can make the best girlfriend. Right. Which one would y'all recommend? They'll give us like the description and different things like that, and then we'll kind of help guide them in that direction. So that's typically the main 2 that we get from each side, for sure.
Yeah, but if you think about what you just said, right? Like, you basically identify the problem on both ends, because you got women who are looking for guys to be a little bit more consistent, but then the guys that we're congratulating for leveling up has more options and that are keeping them from, settling with the women that are complaining, right?
Right.
You catch that?
No, I see where you're going with it. I'm more curious about, like, do you see a difference in, like, depending upon the age group of the people, right? Because a lot of times age comes with experience, which oftentimes leads into how much success, personal success, business success you've been able to kind of accumulate. Right. Do you see a difference in, how people in like the 20-somethings and maybe even early 30s are approaching you, or in terms of the questions that they're asking? Is there a difference in that age group as opposed to like the, like late 30s, early 40 group?
Definitely. I think the main difference is the younger group doesn't really know what they want. So they're still fascinated with like the material things. You know what I'm saying? So like, say for instance, if a young guy calls in and asks us about his few different women, he'll name attributes, right? Like, oh, she's a 10 or she's a 9, but her sex is a 4, or, hey, she's an 8, but she's a little overweight, or 6, she's overweight, but she has a great personality. You know what I'm saying? So it's like a lot of shallow comparisons with the younger men, say, that are asking.
Okay.
Now the older men, it's more of a like, okay, hey, Trill and Smooth, I know y'all are, married. What are some of the key factors that y'all seen in y'all wives that made y'all want to retire from the game for good? Hey, I done been married one time, but I got divorced. And, this time, I really like this girl. I'm trying to make it work. So, like, what keys would y'all give me to look for? So, like, it's more depth behind the questions the older that the guests are, I feel like.
But like if you're older though, right, and they're asking those questions, like what's the reason like that wouldn't be a natural thing that they know about, right? If they've already ran through the game. Is that?
I mean, it depends, right? Like, go ahead, Trill. I don't want to cut you off here.
Nah, I was just gonna say I think it's because most people don't really take the time to get to know themselves. Right. They'll jump from relationship to relationship and just kind of wing it. Instead of like, okay, if I'm in a relationship and it goes bad, I'll take some time away from relationships, take some time to myself, figure out what it is that I really want, look at my game tapes from the last relationship, figure out where I went wrong, and then apply said adjustments to my new relationship. Most people don't do that. Yeah, so I think that's what brings about those questions.
Yeah, people don't do that. Like a lot of times, like when people get out of certain relationships, especially if it was a relationship that was at least somewhat fulfilling to them, whether it's in a toxic way or in a healthy way, like if they're not careful, they're gonna try and like re-enter that same situation with somebody else. They're not even really being in that. Like I used to be in a relationship with someone that was so quick to be like exclusive, so quick to be, in a relationship with me, like within a couple weeks, and my dumb self said, yeah, all right, fine, whatever, right? But then at the end of the day, like I find out that the person was just trying to fill this gap, right? Fill this void in themselves only through me, right? And then when they finally woke up to their senses, they completed their breakup through me.
Right.
You know what I mean? Which was ridiculous. You know what I mean?
I feel like most people are doing that because of what Trill said.
What do you mean?
People don't take the time to learn about themselves, right?
Yeah.
You have to be introspective.
Introspective.
No pun intended.
First. You have to be introspective first, right? Yeah, I mean, and I'm sure you can elaborate on that, Trill. You probably see that all the time.
Yeah, definitely, man. I feel like people would rather be comfortable and miserable than uncomfortable and happy. I feel like, and I think that's why they repeat the same mistakes, because it's comfortable to me. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a big set of problems here, but it's problems that I'm familiar with. So I know how to navigate it compared to, okay, watching the game tapes, making adjustments. In this relationship, I'm going to do something very different. I'm going to look in that mirror and I'm going to be very accountable, and I'm going to do something different this time. That's uncomfortable for people, and people shy away from uncomfortable, even if it's to improve their situation, ironically.
No, that's true, because like psychologically, if you're used to like traumatic situations, if you think about it, like some of the people that call into your show or just ask these questions, some of them give a little history about themselves, and they don't come from the most healthy environments. Am I right?
Yep.
And then when they're around like an environment, whether it's like their upbringing with their parents or family, or just the environment of their neighborhood or the culture that they grew up around, like they're just repeating the same thing that's comfortable to them, right? And then when they find somebody that's like great, whether it's platonically or romantically, they low key reject that, but then wonder why their stuff keeps repeating, which is ridiculous.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
For sure.
That's
the wild part is some would even go so far as to self-sabotage it.
Oh no!
You'll have somebody that like see the improvement, see the difference, like they're genuinely happy, and they'll be like, "Wait a minute, this is uncomfortable. This is unfamiliar. There has to be something wrong with this. So let me go find something wrong with it."
Yeah.
And then they'll get back to that, traumatic zone that they're used to. So it's terrible
so
all the way around.
In a situation like that, right, where you see somebody come in and they clearly understand what it is you just said, that like, hey, I'm capable of making the shift or making the change, right? But it's uncomfortable, and I love how you highlighted that, because sometimes we know what direction we need to go in, but because it's just foreign to us, we push back against it. What are some like tips or tricks, or what advice would you give to somebody who's trying to navigate through that?
Man, that's a hard question to answer, because it's a situation to where it's like, say you have a drug addict family member, something like that. Like, you can tell them the right things to do. You can say, hey, man, you need to go to a 12-step program. You need to, stay away from drugs. You need to put yourself in an environment to where there's positive things going on. But at the end of the day, they have to go do it. Yeah. And the irony of, like, most people that write questions into us or any platform, whether it be, I'm not going to name platform, but any platform, they know the answers to the questions they're asking. Right. Yeah. They just want to hear it again. You know what I'm saying?
They want someone to validate their decisions, right?
Right. Right. Or like kind of drill it into their head that, hey, okay, now I can have the courage to go do it, because I've heard it from 5 different people. So now I'm building up the courage to go do it. But that they know the answers, so that's a hard question to answer. I mean, you can give them tips, but you wouldn't be telling them something they don't know already.
Right. No, I've seen that a million times over. Like, sometimes I've seen people do some stuff, and I'm just like,
first of all, I gotta say though, my man Trill, because like I'm not as involved in the Clubhouse community as you guys are, just because of work. My work outside has been a little bit crazy over the last couple months, but like, yo, you always drop bombs. You say no. You say. I mean that from my heart too. Like, there's certain people who I just remember from the rooms, right? Because I haven't been in there that often. But like you, Flora, like certain people, you just say things that it's like, you gotta think about that.
Controversial,
like, if you will. That actually made even more sense than I realized.
Like, sometimes, like,
think about it. Like, hold on.
Sometimes Trill will say something.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. And then, in translation in my mind, Trill's saying, "Oh, that only happened because you're stupid." I'm just like, what? It's like, damn.
Man, I definitely appreciate you, bro, for sure.
For sure, man.
No, definitely. Yeah. We appreciate you having, spending time with us, like, on this conversation and the Clubhouse rooms. But
I'm gonna be back soon too. I got to jump back in there now that.
Yeah, because Michaelangelo was actually one of the original ones with me. I don't know if you remember seeing him on there.
I do.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But he's been busy. He's been working on a lot of good things. But
my company just went public last week.
Oh man! Congratulations.
Working on a big thing for the last couple months, and we're there. So I'll be back. Anyway,
we're not gonna talk about that.
We can edit that out.
We're not gonna talk. Edit that out. So one of the rooms that, like, I want to have a conversation about, which probably translates to some of the things that we were just talking about with people having these toxic things. Like, do you feel like social media, right? Because I've never been big on social media, and I decided to do this podcast. Now I'm on Twitter, and I got IG, all this stuff, right? I don't even know how to use half the stuff, right? Like, do you feel like social media is good or bad for a community?
There's good and bad, but it's a situation to where it's like ignorance is bliss, so that may be good for some people. Like, it just depends on what your objective is. And what I mean by that is, like, with social media, you get like a constant update of what your market value is, or what you think it is, compared to the attention that you're getting.
Explain that. What do you mean? What do you mean your market value?
Yeah, like, so like how your what I like to call like pulling power, right? So say if I'm fairly popular on there, I can pretty much put up a picture and see how many women, or get a decent idea of how many women would be interested in me, or what my options may be if I were to shoot. Okay. So say on like Instagram, for example, like, I'll put up a picture. If I get 600 likes, you can scroll through those likes. You can find maybe about 100 of them that look bad, and maybe like 50 or 60 of them are like in frequent conversation with like your Instagram story or something like that. So in your head, you're constantly assessing, okay, if I were to shoot, I could probably get that.
Got options.
You know what I'm saying? And I think that's what social media does, right? Compared to, like, say if it didn't exist, you would have to go outside and actually make those personal contacts, do a lot more work, you know what I'm saying, to get it. But social media is just right there on your phone. So that's what I mean by, like, ignorance is bliss. So if it wasn't around, then you wouldn't have that distraction to constantly be worried about what your market value is. You would be able to just focus on your partner and pleasing your partner. But now what social media does is that if you're in a relationship and they do something you don't like, immediately in your head, you start thinking about my market value. Ooh. I don't have to stay here and deal with this. I have 40 women that I could hit right now that I can 40, go kick it with.
40. I was thinking 4.
That's honest though, bro.
No, that's really honest.
I'd show my wife, like, yo, you see all these DMs? Act right. I didn't respond yet.
Jeff's not married.
I'm not married. I'm just speaking hypothetically. I'm just saying. You see these DMs, right?
He gonna be divorced quick doing that.
Act right.
He gonna be divorced real quick,
bro.
Act right.
Nah, I love that though. I love that assessment, because essentially what you're saying is it's not good or bad, right? It's a thing,
right?
It's a thing.
Yeah,
it's
but
a tool.
but at the end of the day, like, it's way too much information in my mind. It's way too much information for the average person, right?
And are we talking specifically using it to kind of position yourself in the space of connecting with another person on a dating level?
Well, I mean,
because
that's
at the end of the day, like, and this is why I love Trill's answer. It's not good. It's not bad. It's a thing. And the human beings who are using it make it good or bad, right? Depending upon what they're looking to extract from it. Because if you think about it on a business level, right? Mm-hmm. Like, there's not a lot of negative that you can attach to social media as a whole, right? Holistically. I'm not talking about just Instagram, or like, I think when you asked the question, you might have been thinking about one particular area. There's so much you can do with social media. Like, we're here because of social media.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Correct.
Sure. So, but I'm talking about to the aggregate, right? If you think about it, right? So I saw that.
But the aggregate in what regard, right? Because you have to segment it.
I'm about to. I'm about to segment it, right?
Go ahead.
So, Trill, I don't know if you ever saw this. It's on Netflix. It's called Social Dilemma.
Definitely.
You've seen it, right?
Yeah.
So I think social media, if you use it for like business reasons and you're trying to connect with people, so on and so forth, but the reason why it's good for business is because it's bad for people. Here's what I mean, right? When it comes for business use, you are able to latch onto people based on what they're addicted to, right? You're able to promote to people who have all these like egotistical agendas, right? Why are you smiling?
Because bro, you're leaning into the negative elements
no.
too much.
Hear me out. The social media is built around pretty much built around selfies. Let's keep it real, right? You taking pictures, you at your vacation, this, that, and the third. You want to see yourself. You want people to see you. Blah 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 blah. And then that drew a lot of attention. Huh?
Yep, vanity. That's true.
Vanity. And what the corporate world does is they look at that. They're like, people are paying a lot of attention to themselves, right? And they're paying attention to their screen based on what they're promoting about themselves.
Right.
This is an opportunity to interrupt that viewership of themselves with product, with so on and so forth. But so now social media creators like Facebook, IG, all that stuff, which, same thing. They're like, okay, how do we make it more addictive? How do we make it more interactive? How do we make you more involved? Right? So that way we as a sheep, we get, bombarded with all this information that is making us into something that we don't even know we're turning into. Do you see what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying.
Yes.
I don't fully agree. But I want to hear what Trill thinks.
Yeah, no, it's a situation where they're using people's self-centeredness against them. I mean, and again, like, which is great from a business perspective, right? Because it's like you said, if I'm online and I'm tweeting about, I don't know, boating or fishing, whatever the case may be, all the time. So now, as I'm the leader of that social media app, not every ad you're going to see from now on is going to be a fishing pole or a fishing boat or whatever the case may be. And then I get paid from those ads because you're going to click them because that's what you're interested in. So from a business standpoint, of course, you know, it's a great situation. But again, I understand what Michaelangelo is saying too, is because it's by choice. You choose to indulge in that or you don't. You could choose to use it in a positive way, but it's going to involve, I guess, not being so self-centered or not being so gluttonous. And but most people, if we just going to keep it real, they're going to be gluttonous. So that's why it's able to be a revolving door. The irony of it, right, when social media first came out, is that it expanded the world, right? Like everything, or let me see, shrunk the world, pardon me. It made everything around you. Close,
both work.
You know what I'm saying?
Both work. Expanded our reach, right? Inside of the world, which in essence does kind of, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of constrict it. In a sense, right?
Right. But now
is that all bad, right? So here's my thing. Mm-hmm. You mentioned, all right, if I'm a fisherman or I'm into boats, they're gonna start sending me ads that have to do with anything tied to fishing, boats, whatever it may be. Mm-hmm. If I like that, don't I want to see those ads? Like if I'm a person that's into vacations, and now a business is exploiting the fact that I like to go on vacations, and you're sending me dope deals, dope stuff about vacation. That's actually adding like some kind of value.
But
to my reality.
And if you like,
you know what I mean?
And if you like porn, you're gonna get a lot more porn.
Right?
Is that, you know what I'm saying? And if you like destructive
this goes
things, back
to what Trill's saying. It's not good or bad. It's
it just depends on perspective. It's all about perspective.
No,
but you. The only reason I'm saying it like this toward you is because you made a definitive statement. You said, "I think it's good for business and bad for people specifically." So let me ask you a question: have you found anything good personally from being on social media the last 6 months?
If I'm looking at what I'm doing as a business, yes. As a business,
personally.
I know what you're trying to say. We're not gonna get
you see what I'm saying? Bro, yo,
he trying to walk him to the ledge. He trying to walk him to the ledge.
Jeff will throw a point out there a lot of times, and then he won't want to back off it. It's just like, no, like, you can't tell me I'm wrong. Come on, my guy. Like, nah.
Walked him right out there to the ledge.
Come on, dude.
I was just like, what are you talking? Oh, yeah. Damn.
Come on, dude.
No,
but the irony of that is, right, is that just like it expanded the world, like you said, but it boxes you in too, though. Because just like, right, because of those algorithms. So now, you know, I was following 200 people, right, before these algorithms and stuff came in. So I could scroll and get me a different taste of something every now and again. I don't just have to see fisherman stuff all the way around. You know, I like driving too. I like cars. So every now and again, I might want to go check on some cars. But how these algorithms are set up, you got to go hunt for the cars now. So it kind of boxes you into what you like, and you don't get to see as many things as you once did, women included, if we're gonna be honest.
For sure.
And that's how I feel about like the news too, right? So last year there was a lot of, you know, focus on no, hear me out. There was a lot of focus.
Don't come at the news right now, bro.
I'm not gonna come at the news.
No, so my girl, she's a anchor reporter at a big network.
No, but hear me out.
Got you.
I'm talking about like a lot of people who get their news from social media.
Okay.
Right? Sometimes the trending information is the most relevant. And it might not be the most accurate. It's just the most trending information. Okay. Right? So I read this I don't know if I read an article or if it was a documentary, but there was this discussion, right, about like, especially when we were talking about like all the BLM, the Black Lives Matter stuff, as well as that police brutality and so on and so forth. Sometimes the narrative that they want you to see, right? Even though there is a lot of benefit for us being able to like highlight some of the things, some of the injustices, but sometimes they focus on a particular injustice that is popular and they ignore all the other ones, right?
True.
You see what I'm saying, right, Trill?
That's facts. But I mean,
definitely.
I'm not saying that's good or bad.
But that actually goes against your original point, right? Because you said that it's good for business, bad for personal, but that's a business thing.
What are you talking about?
That them targeting or aiming a specific or categorizing, right? Like different parts of, for instance, the BLM movement, because that's what you're talking about specifically here right now. for them to exploit one part of it or highlight one part of it for clicks and views and whatever.
Okay.
That's what you're saying, right? You going in that direction, or was I off?
Well, it's not necessarily for clicks and views, but it's more so like that just happens to be the wave of what's going on in a particular moment, right? It's not necessarily for clicks and views. That's just business operation, right? Like, I'll give you an example, right? Trill, tell me how you feel about this, right? I was I forgot what I was listening to, but I was listening to a different podcast where they were talking about how and tell me how you feel about this. You feel this is real or not, right? There was a guy, he was saying when they see like a black dude getting pulled over, right? Getting pulled over by the police, everybody got their cameras out. Oh, let's see what's going to happen. You know, this, that, and third. There might be an injustice here, so on and so forth, right? And then when he saw somebody getting pulled over by the police, he went to go pull his camera out. He realized it wasn't a black dude, so he's like, I don't need to record anything, right? What you're doing also is there might be an overall like police injustice as a whole, but you're only highlighting it when it's black and white.
But there's a reason that you are doing that, because there's a disproportionate.
No. I'm not disagreeing with you. I just want to understand, like, from your point of view, Trill, do you feel as though like that's also like a popularized, trending, perspective versus people capturing every single thing that needs to be. You see what I mean?
Okay. I feel like they're going to go with what's most profitable and what's most polarizing, right? The news isn't built to inform. Nope. It's built to like give you entertainment, shock.
Yeah.
So if we, like, just like you said, that example with the camera being pulled out, a white person getting pulled over by police, it's not really polarizing. It's not controversial, right? Because there's no stigma, there's no history attached to it. But a black person, there is. So if there's any kind of aggression or any kind of whatever the case may be, like, that clip is going to go viral compared to a clip of, say, a white person getting aggressive with the cop or cussing the cop out. So if I'm a news station, I'm trying to get as many eyes on my station as possible. Yeah. So I'm going to lean into what I know is going to be the most polarizing. Same thing with like a Twitter or the case may be. It's kind of how I got big on there, is that I kind of wrap my head around that exact same concept. Sure, I can be on there, you know, telling a lot of women what they want to hear in terms of relationship. Hey, you know, you go out, get you a good man. You know, you are independent queen. You know, these guys are going to, you know, they have to bow to you like that. I could have came out and did that, right? Yeah. But you'll be saying what they, quote unquote, already know, or what they think they know, or what they want to hear. It's nothing polarizing about that. But if I come out and I tweet, you need to be accountable, your last situation failed because you didn't do such and such, that's going to get outrage. That's going to get, like, the timeline.
So you played on that, yes.
Sure. And that's what anybody smart would do. Like, just like those media companies that y'all are talking about. I'm going to lean into what's most polarizing. My job is to get eyes on my channel. Or if I have a news account, clicks or retweets or whatever the case may be, I'm trying to get as much of that as possible, because what does that do? That brings me more money when these ads come in. So everything is about profit. Exactly. All of it is.
But see, that's my problem, right?
But it's not a problem.
No,
it's a vicious cycle. But it's not a problem.
Let me tell you why it's a problem. I'm gonna tell you why it's a problem.
Let's hear why.
So think about this, right? Whatever you see in the news, you think that's the problem, right? When in reality, there might be another underlying issue. So if you're talking about like people who are, you know, doing injustice in the world in whatever field that they're in, they're going to use whatever's on media to determine what the problem is and overlook what the real problem might be, or the underlying issue is, right? You know, people are talking about, like, you know, racial sensitivity and so on and so forth. How about teaching cops how to use a gun in the first place? So a lot of them don't have the proper training to do that, right? But they don't highlight that on the news. They highlight just it's a social injustice, which that exists, but that's not the only thing. There's so many other, there's budgeting issues, there's all kinds of stuff, but no one wants to talk about it. Sure. So they're going to spend their budget on what satisfies the public's egotistical perspective, which is ridiculous, right? You see what I'm saying?
But it's profitable.
No, that's my point. It's profitable.
But it's profitable.
It's good for
From a
business.
business standpoint, it's
Bad
great.
for people.
Right.
But again, you're leaning into one part of it, because here's the thing with social media. There's still a ton of information out there that you can find, right? That represents the alternative narrative. on
People
any situation.
are lazy.
But
social media preys on
you're
that.
saying that we should take people's autonomy away. So here's the thing: you're at least in this conversation. I think you're just doing it because it keeps it going. But you're framing social media as a negative from a personal standpoint, and you're saying it's a problem. So what's the solution to the problem? Take away social media.
No,
completely?
I'm not saying that.
How do we fix that?
No, I think we just need to be more educated as people.
Okay.
So that way, whenever we are given a tool, we don't use.
Exactly. The issue is actually not with social media.
It's not social media.
Okay.
There
we go.
When I say social media, it's as a concept. We are social media. So I'm referring to people.
Got it.
Do you see what I'm saying, Trill? Like,
Yeah, which is why I never like social media is nothing but a microcosm of what reality is.
Exactly.
In my opinion.
Exactly.
It's just a shrunken version. So just like we're talking about the negatives of it, right? For in the same situation, there are, injustices or whatever that happen to people that make the news because of social media. Because it's trending, because we bring the attention to it. So now they're forced to talk about it because it's so popular. So again, there's a give and a take. It just depends on perspective, man, to be honest.
Yeah, that's it.
And it just narrows our scope, right? Which kind of brings me to like one of my other questions, right? There's been a lot of conversations about like toxic masculinity.
Yeah, man.
You know what I mean?
Oh man, I definitely want to get Trill's perspective.
Yeah, because like if you think, if you think about it, right? There's been, are there men that do really toxic things that are like inappropriate and very foul? Absolutely, right? But I feel as though they group all men in that same conversation, right? So my thing is like, do you agree with like how people are gauging what masculinity is, toxic masculinity? Where do we draw the line of like what is allowable for us as men compared to anybody else?
And also, how do you define toxic masculinity? Like from your standpoint and your understanding of it, like just for the audience, how do you kind of
how I define toxic masculinity? I feel like it's like overexerting dominance for no reason at all. Like say for instance, like somebody that's being toxic and having toxic masculinity is somebody that is trying to get over on people or manipulate or use our patriarchal advantages to do wrong or to manipulate or for self-gain or for self-purpose type of situation, compared to just masculinity, in my opinion, is just being a man. And what being a man is taking care of your family, leading, being prepared, doing your background research, like guiding, protecting your woman, providing for your family. Like that's what I feel like masculinity is. But toxic masculinity, I feel like it's like overindulgence. It's overexerting yourself. It's just being, I'm the strongest in here, so I'm gonna bully people, or, a lot of women like me, so I'm gonna manipulate women, or it's that type of situation. There's way more negative connotation attached to it, in my opinion.
Yeah, but if you think about it, that's relative though, right? Because if you want to gauge it based on that, there might be people who like that. Right? Who like that, what someone might call overexertion, right? And there's some people who might look at, someone who tiptoes on the other side of the line as someone who's way too passive as a man. He's not man enough. You know what I mean? So
it's right.
See, yeah. Go ahead, Trill. It's on you.
And I was just gonna say, which is where the waters get murky, right? Is because, especially like from a woman perspective, we can keep this in a relationship box. The same women that complain about toxic masculinity champion it, and they benefit guys for being that way. At least initially, before they find out later on down the line, hey, this is not productive to my life. You know,
Right.
of course, I want a man that's super tough, so they go out and date gang members or go out and date criminals or whatever the case may be. You know, or I want a man that's not gonna take nothing or whatever the case may be from nobody. That's fine and good until he putting his hands on you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like a give and a take, and eventually, like, they'll like level out as they get older and experience enough of that toxic masculinity to their own detriment to realize, hey, this is not
it. It's not it.
not what I'm supposed to be signing up for.
That would be the question. And it actually goes back to something that Trill said before about just doing that self introspection, right? Because if somebody is okay with that or wants that early on in a relationship, you have to really ask yourself the question, how do they feel about themselves, right? Like, how do you see yourself?
Right.
If you're okay with that overexertion.
Yeah, but they don't even see it as overexertion. They look at it as this is
exactly. So
I know, but how do you expect someone to look at themselves and be like, you know what, I'm making bad decisions on who they're not even thinking that far. They're just like, what is wrong with this guy? And they're not looking at itself. Right? They're not realizing that they're the one choosing those people.
And that opens up a whole other conversation about just mental health, and
accountability,
and
my favorite word.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
Accountability is a big deal, but at the same time, there's a natural progression of your brain, where it's like you're accustomed to a certain toxicity, right? And if it's toxic masculinity, however you want to look at it, some levels of it are more extreme than others, and what you're willing to accept compared to the next person, right? So my question to you, Trill, is like, what advice do you give a man, like if you were raising a boy, right, to be a man, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do you determine what's acceptable and what's not if the different people he's going to encounter are going to have different levels of acceptance for different, things that they expect, right?
Right.
How do you do that, especially in this environment?
Yeah, I would, like, if I have a son, right, I would raise him to not go outside of yourself to be masculine. If you got to leave who you are as a person to stick your chest out and, be this quote unquote masculine guy, then you're overexerting yourself. That's toxic masculinity. And say, for instance, like in the gang culture, that's what a lot of them are doing, is because they have to overcompensate for the lack of, say, male influence that they might have had in their house growing up.
Yeah. Right.
So now when I go out in these streets, I got to go out here and be what I think a masculine man is. And I've been watching movies, and that's gangsters, and that's shooting people, and that's fighting, and that's because that's what I've seen. Compared to if you have a dad who's an actual grown man, that doesn't go above and beyond to try to prove himself and stick his chest out and be the toughest person in the room. He'll say, son, there's value in being solid and controlled and being laid back until it's necessary. Now, that's not saying if somebody challenges you, you don't be a man and do what you got to do in that situation. But to go around and, overexert yourself, I feel like that's where the problem is. So I would tell my son, in summary, if you have to step outside of yourself to be quote unquote masculine, and you'll know what that is because it'll be uncomfortable. You'll feel yourself doing extra.
Right.
And if you feel that, then you're doing too much. You need to reel that back in. That's not really you.
Yeah, but I think ultimately, though, in order for them to know that they're stepping outside of themselves, they need to first know themselves. And before that, how do they become the self that they were in the first place, right? I think you mentioned, like, if your father's doing this or not doing that, that's going to kind of like dictate which direction your child's going to go into, right?
Right.
So my thing is, like, there's so many people in so many different situations, and you're going to interact with those people in the world, right? They're going to have different gauges of what your masculinity is allowed to do and what it's not, because we're not sharing the same ideals across the world or across even neighborhoods, right? So how do we manage that when there's so many, like, men that are getting finger pointed for doing things that in other communities are acceptable? How do we level that out? Or do we? Is it anybody's job? Go ahead.
Yeah, no. I think it's, I think it's the guidance that the kids have. Like, give a kid some kind of structure or some kind of guidelines to go by. That's not saying, okay, hey, I want you to be this, so you need to go this way.
Right.
But that's giving them some structure enough to feel comfortable being themselves.
Right.
And understand that being yourself is okay. You don't have to try to fit in with people. And that's why I feel like a lot of the toxic masculinity takes place, just going back to the gang culture, because that's what I grew up around. It's like, you know, when you leave that house, right? I don't have a dad at home. My mom's working all the time. So I don't have guidance. So my guidance are the older people that are in my neighborhood who I look up to. Okay. And they're robbing and they're fighting and they're shooting. So in my eyes, and not only are they doing that, they're getting praised for doing it from other people that are my age, people their age, women, they got all the women, they got money. So it's like, if I grow up and I see that example of what masculinity is, I'm going to replicate it.
Yeah.
So I feel like it starts at the house. It's about guidance. Like me, my dad was home. Yeah. So I was able to have those conversations with him. Like, even though outside all that's going on, when I come back in the crib, he say, yeah, they are getting money right now. They are getting women right now. But see where they're going to be in 10 years. I can guarantee you most of them will be locked up. Most of them will be dead, whatever the case may be, because this is what happens when you do that. Yeah, it might start off as a fight, but okay, now you got a police record. Yeah. And now you can't get the job you want. Or you go beat this guy up and now you got to worry about next week him coming and shooting you. Yeah. Like these are what these options lead to. So I had that guidance. So I was able to make better decisions than people who didn't. And 10 years later, most of the people that were in my neighborhood are in jail or dead, just like he said. So I think that's how you cure it. We have to be able to give our kids that guidance and some structure enough to feel comfortable being themselves. If we don't, then the cycle is just going to repeat.
Yep.
That's tough.
Nailed it. That's it.
So
it's almost
so now,
like...
Now you know what to do with your son when you get your son. Right?
Yeah, man.
He's not expecting. I'm just saying. I'm predicting
it. Yeah,
We're
man.
on the clock. We're on the clock for sure.
Wait, there's a clock?
I've been there. I've been there. I understand.
My girl's 36, so I'm on the clock.
What do you mean you've been there? What does that mean?
Yeah. Been on the clock. Give you that hint. Hey, you ever thought about, when we're gonna have some kids?
Is that an age thing or the length of relationship thing?
I think it's both, to be honest.
Definitely
It's more age. Yeah, because they got that biological clock. So it's like, hey, after a while, it's going to be too hard for me to have kids. So I kind of want to get that out of the way now. And plus they'll say, oh, I don't want to be a 60-year-old mom out here. You know what I'm saying? Like that type of thing.
Let me ask you something. For anybody who's trying to date right now, who's of older age, right? Do you think it's like appropriate to be like, listen, we need to prioritize the fact that we're older to make a decision about like hitching up and getting kids now versus trying to like date for an extended period of time to get to know each other? Like, which is more important?
Man, I would prioritize creating a stable environment. I wouldn't just advise people to have kids just because they're older, man. Make sure that the environment is stable. If that means that we are together 4 or 5 years, learning each other and learning ourselves and creating that stable environment to have that kid, then so be it.
Hold on. What about you do that, right? Let's say you 40, right? And then you're like, I want to have a good 2, 3, 4, 5 years relationship. And then now you're like, let's have a kid. And
that's fine. You got to do it. Listen, it's not a timeline, really.
No, hear me out. And then you try it and it don't work.
Adopt.
Yeah. A lot of people can't conceptualize that unless they plan for that beforehand. I'm telling you.
Yeah, but see the dope part about being men, right, is that we ain't really got to worry about that. Right. Men could have kids at 50 to 60 if we wanted to. Now women is different, but men, I got a 50-year-old uncle that has a 2-year-old.
Yeah, he a whole pimp.
That's real though. A 2-year-old baby at 50.
In a situation like that.
How old was the girl though? How old is the girl?
I think she's like 36 or something like that. 36, 37, something like that.
I mean, it is what it is. But I mean, still, your point is well taken. You have to establish a secure and stable foundation first.
Of course.
So if it takes too long, hey, you might have to let that girl go, right? If in the situation you propose, right? You're 40, you need 3 or 5 years to get there, and you don't. Well, you'll know in like year 2.5, what direction you're trending in. And hopefully she is secure enough in herself and aware enough to see where it's headed. And if she needs to get out, she gets out.
Bruh, any woman that is of age, I mean like 36 and up, she needs to know right now if you're on that page, bro. If you're going to stick it out with her and want to have kids.
You make a lot of blanket statements. But I get it.
I'm making those statements to elevate the conversation, because if you think about it, a woman who's at that age, thinking about, oh, I'll just see what happens. I'll be together with this person, and if it doesn't work out after a year or two, I'll just move on to the next. Like, they not doing that, bro. They not.
But see, I think that's where. But see, I think that's what accountability set in. Her being that old, she should have a laundry list of what she wants specifically, so that way she don't gotta guess.
Exactly.
After I done picked this man and we dating, I know who he is. I know what I want in a man.
But
so if you're not that, I'm not gonna even rock with you.
There's no good men out there. When I get, you know what I'm saying? When I get to one, then he doesn't want to commit. You know what I mean? He's got so many options. I wanted a man that's successful and does his own thing, but he doesn't want to commit to me. When does the cycle end? Like, does it? Are we just meant to be like running around in circles? Like, what are we talking about?
The cycle ends. Well, no, the cycle shouldn't begin, and that's the issue. Like, we need to iron out people having their non-negotiable list early, so they don't make the mistakes that most people make early, and they can find something solid early, so you don't be scrambling at 45, 42. That's the issue. The shit start when you first begin. Like, when you out here dating these toxic masculinity guys, having babies by them, knowing good and damn well that he's not going to be a solid provider. He's not going to be like a great dad. You don't see great dad in him because he's not a consistent man to you.
Are they even thinking about that,
But you get pregnant
though?
by him.
Are women
They
who getting themselves in that situation thinking about that to that level?
No, and that's the problem. That's what we need to start to fixing the issue at right there. So you're not 36, 37, not knowing what you want in a man.
Yeah. Like, that's crazy to me, because to me it's like, I've seen a lot of like situations where like a woman will be dating a man who is clearly, both of them are not fit human beings to raise children.
Yeah,
they're just not.
Wow.
But how are you going to tell them that, though? Who are you going to tell, like, hey, you're not fit to be a mother. You're not fit to be a father. So you guys shouldn't date people until you get therapy and you grow as people. How do you even, like what are you talking about? You're just going to let them breed whatever comes. And I might come across those people and have to deal with that BS.
We're on camera, so I'm not going to tell you my solution to this.
Well,
the three of us will chop that up.
So it's PC? All right, we're going to save it.
It's not even PC. It's just I'm not trying to get canceled on our first, second, or third
early.
episode.
Real early.
It's too early, man. We'll talk about that.
I really want to know now. We're gonna save that for Patreon.
There you go. There you go.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm writing a letter to our senators talking about a proposed idea that incorporates reparations. Though, like I've thought about this shit my entire life, because I have like cousins who are in these situations that we're talking about.
Wait, reparations? Why would reparate?
Just that, like I said, it's for another day.
This goes beyond.
It's deep.
Okay.
It's deep.
All right. Well,
it's a bigger picture here, man. It's a bigger picture, man.
Listen,
it's for another day.
At the end of the day, there's a lot of people who are misguided and they're making horrible decisions about their lives. And when it comes to like toxic masculinity that we talked about earlier, nobody really understands like the reasons why people do things in the first place. Right. There's organic reasons and there's social reasons. So there's a lot of misunderstandings.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, I can't say that definitively
mean?
that we don't understand why people make the decisions that they make.
There's a lot of decisions that people make that we don't fully understand. We don't.
If we were to dissect their lives, we could figure out why they do. That's
of course. I mean,
psychology.
At myself and yourself, we probably, Trill as well, probably look into a lot of these things that a lot of people don't.
Right.
I'm talking about to the average.
Oh, the average person.
The average person. So everyone's looking at it on the surface level. Right?
Yeah.
So on your show, you've had a lot of people come in and, ask questions about, oh, why won't he do this? Or why won't she do that, this, that, and the third? So there's a plethora of misunderstandings, especially between men and women. I feel like there's this big war going on between men and women. Like, women are better at this, or men are better at this, or we have the bigger problem than you. My problems are bigger than your problem, right? But I feel like there's not enough understanding of each other's situations. Right. So, Trill, my question to you. Go ahead.
Oh, okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, my question to you is like given what you've experienced in your life and the audience that you've interacted with, what do you think are some of the things that men and women have a complete misunderstanding of each other?
I think the difference in accountability is the misunderstanding.
Love that
like
word.
Men are forced to be accountable. Like because we're the leaders of society, and you got to protect and provide. Like, you don't have a choice but to be accountable. If you're not accountable, your whole family suffers, your whole circle suffers. Women don't have that same situation, right? Say for instance, and what I mean by that, say for instance, a man and a woman are married.
Okay.
And as a man, when you go on the job, right? Of course, it's an asshole at every job. You don't like him every time he's around. It's negative energy, whatever the case may be. But as a man, in your mind, I can't react emotionally to this, because if I lose my job, what's the repercussions of that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, my mortgage is not paid. Now my kids, daycare is not paid. My wife can't get what she wants. So no, I gotta suck that up and find a way to navigate around it, or find another job and then quit that job that I'm at. Yeah. Women, on the other hand, if there's somebody that they don't like at the job, they can react emotionally, and it's accepted. Because if they lose their job,
trying to get canceled, dude. You trying to get canceled?
My man, but these are facts though. So it's
depends on the space.
I'm just messing with you, but go
right.
ahead.
So it's like, okay, I can react emotionally and lose my job, because what's the worst case scenario? Okay, I'm not working. I'm just gonna go home and be a mom to my child, and my husband's gonna take care of it. Why? Because he's the man. He's the leader. So that's what I mean by men don't have a choice but to be accountable. And also, we're so used to getting criticized to where it's like normal to us.
And that's what I feel like in
everything. So what do you start? Not being manly enough, not providing enough, not the vast income gap between us and other races, us being toxic, us being manipulative, us, cheating and different things like that. Like, men are used to us not being emotionally intelligent enough to connect with our women. Like, these are things that we're, criticized for all the time. And we have to fix it in order for the relationship to work. But how often do men criticize their wives or feel comfortable criticizing their wives on things that she needs to improve?
But do you feel,
and why is that?
But do you feel,
right? Because what's going to happen in as a result of that.
Right. But do you feel
so whereas like
I see what you're saying.
But do you feel like,
what I'm saying? So it's like if a man and a woman is married, right? If, say for instance, a woman is not happy about something in her marriage, hey, you're not taking out the trash fast enough, or hey, you're not doing this, so I don't feel like you're being romantic enough, right? She can say that in whatever manner she wants to say it. And as a man, you're expected to just, because I'm a man, I'm going to take this in. Hey, baby, you know what? Okay, I may get mad, whatever, but hey, I'm going to take this in. I'm going to make the adjustments enough to make this relationship work, right? But if a man says, hey, I don't feel like you giving me enough sex, or I don't feel like you cook good enough, or I feel like maybe you can get in shape a little better than you are now, he'll get his head bit off. You can't just say that and expect her to, okay, you know what, you're right, I have been getting a little bit, I'm going to work on that, and then we can go from there. So it's a difference in accountability, and that's what I feel like is the main difference between us.
But is it accountability or is it an expectation, though?
What do you mean?
Because what you were saying is more about expectations as opposed to accountability. But I'm curious how you like tie them together, or if it's more one or the other. You see what I'm saying? Is that clear?
Now, elaborate on what you mean as far as the difference
like what you
to you.
Yeah. So what I heard, right, was us as men, there's an expectation of what we can or what we should be accepting or taking, right? That's different, in my mind at least, than accountability, like what we're supposed to be accountable for. And maybe that's what it is. Maybe I should just have you just be a little bit clear about what accountability is to you specifically in those instances that you just pointed out.
Right. So what I mean is like accountability in an area. If I'm lacking in an area that we all know that I should be doing, say for instance, let me see something I can just think of right off the top of my head. Just like working a job, like right. So if I'm in a relationship as a man, as the provider and leader of this household, right, I have to be bringing in some kind of money, right? Okay. So but then if I lose my job, like a lot of people do, if I don't get another one for a year or 2 years, and she's on me about, hey, you leaving all of this on my shoulders or whatever. Like me as a man, I have to be accountable and accept the fact, hey, I'm not pulling my weight here.
Okay, right. Got it. There
like we go. That's what being accountable. So if I'm lacking in an area, and we both know that I'm lacking in said area, and I'm not doing anything to improve it, then I'm not being accountable. You know what I'm saying? That's my view of it.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate, right? So right now, those are clearly things that a lot of men struggle with in maintaining, accountability, as well as, maintaining, their stature as men in their household. But my question is, what are some things that, like, one, are misunderstood about women, as well as some things that, in general, most women are typically held responsible for, that they do hold themselves accountable for in their feminine world. Like, I'm not saying that we're the best people to speak to this as men, right, but just from our perspective.
And your experience, because Trill has a bunch of people all the time coming to ask some questions. So, in your experience.
What do you think?
Okay, could you repeat that question one more time?
Like for instance, right? Like, as a man in your relationship, in your household, a man is expected to do X, Y, and Z. If he doesn't do this, he's not viable as a man in a lot of ways.
Right.
Right? So there's got to be certain things that if a woman doesn't do X, Y, and Z, she's not viable as a woman to the man that she's with or in the society that she, is in. Right? What are those things? Is that a thing?
But see,
or is it a free
right? But see, that's my issue, right? Is that there's not a lot of, aside from being a great mother, and like supporting your man, there's not a lot of requirements from a woman, like, or expectations from a woman in a relationship, right? Like compared to a man. So, example of what I'm saying. Say, for instance, finances. When a man is pursuing a woman, okay, he has to be making a legitimate or decent amount of money enough to be able to take care of a family. Yeah. Right? It's compared to when a man is pursuing a woman, he can meet a woman at McDonald's. Yeah. And it's acceptable. Yeah. Right? So she doesn't necessarily have to bring her own house to the relationship, or her own car to the relationship. Like, those are not expectations. Those are not requirements for a woman to do. But on the opposite end, you as a man, like, wait, so you want me to marry you, but you don't have a place to stay?
Yeah, but
you live with your mother? So again, like, it's a difference in expectations. I don't really feel like women are expected to bring much to a situation.
Yeah, but that's.
And it's not even, I don't think you. And correct me if I'm wrong, Trill. I don't think you mean bring much. It's just not as much as the man, right?
Right. I don't even,
tangible. Yeah, like tangible things.
Listen, I'm still playing devil's advocate because I feel like we're only looking at it from one lens, right? Like what I'm saying is, those are like things that matter to a woman that we're responsible for, right? But what matters to us, right? Because at the end of the day, women aren't held accountable to those same things, because ultimately we're the ones deciding to still court women who might not have those accolades, and we're okay with that. So that shouldn't be as important to us, because we're okay and we're catering to that. So what are the things that are important to us as men that we feel women need to be held accountable for? Because we can't talk about the stuff that we ultimately aren't really filtering for. We're not like, bro, I don't know what your situation is, but when you were younger or prior to you get married, I'm pretty sure you were like, I'm only gonna date a woman if she makes 6 figures. I'm only gonna date a woman who's got her own house. If you did that, there'd probably be a bigger pressure for women to do that. But at the end of the day, that wasn't important to you, probably. I'm gonna make that assumption, but you got to tell me.
But see, right? So okay, so I'll use my example, marriage as an example.
Okay.
Right. When I met my wife, first off, we were super young. I met her in 8th grade.
Damn.
But even back then, right. So, but
That's
even back then,
crazy.
like we've been together 13 years, married 4. We met each other way back then. So it was a situation even back then. I was very like clear in what I wanted in a woman. And it was like really like probably three main things. The one being her being confident, her being self-sufficient. Mm-hmm. She doesn't need me in any aspect of life at all. I would be a luxury to her.
You knew that in 8th grade?
And for 3, for her,
no.
Yes. And for her to be ambitious.
What?
That's what I'm like, wait,
I'm sorry, wait, what?
Yeah, well, I mean, it wasn't as concise, but like as you like get older, like you know what I'm saying, it kind of is more concise. But like back then, say for instance, I'll put it in 8th grade terms. I want my woman to go to college. I want her to leave this environment that we are in. I want her to have her own, her own stuff, to where I can bring my stuff, and now we have this, combination of this. I always saw relationships as like a partnership thing. Yeah. So if me meeting a pretty woman that didn't have those, it wouldn't last, because that like those are things that would motivate me to be in this relationship.
Right.
She had all those things that I wanted, so I married her. So like it was that simple for me.
Okay, so now that's you, and I think those are very commendable things, because I feel like you hold women to a higher standard than the average man. Right. But now let's look at societally. Right? Is that a word? Societally. Is that a word?
Yeah, but is that statement correct? Like,
what?
Do you think that Trill, and hopefully us too, we hold, we're not the standard? Like we're
not the standard. If
you think most men are holding women to a lower standard of
absolutely
self-sufficiency? Really?
Absolutely.
Hey, maybe.
Absolutely.
Maybe.
Think about it. Right? When you're a man, you are a machine to get the bag, be secure, so that way you can provide for who you're with. That's just That's just the nature of your manhood, as well as what you're pushed towards. Because which came first, chicken or egg? It doesn't matter. The point is that's the gear you're in, right? When you're meeting someone, if you meet a woman who's a high earning woman and she's doing all the things that you're doing and she's mirroring you, at the end of the day, if you're not attracted to her, right, on a visceral level, none of that matters. None of that matters, right? So at the end of the day, you're not holding her to that same standard. The standard you're holding her to is more towards vanity, right? Or physiological needs that you might not have to sustain yourself. So that's why I'm asking the question: what are the things that again, you hold your women to a higher standard, which is very commendable, and I appreciate that. But let's look at the aggregate.
I put it like this. All right. I put it like this. Most men will take a woman if she's super attractive, cooperative, and brings him peace, and her sex is good. If she has those things, most men will marry a woman like that.
But will it last? That's my question.
Why wouldn't it?
Yes.
Because time, maybe because in that, if she is agreeable, you could do whatever you want. Right.
Bingo. That's the thing.
Why wouldn't it?
But to whereas like me, like self-sufficiency is very important to me.
Yeah.
So she could do all of those things, but if she was just super dependent on me, I would be turned off completely. It wouldn't last.
Same.
I wouldn't respect her.
Let me ask you this, Trill.
To be honest,
and like you don't have to answer if you don't want to, but growing up, was your mother, your aunts, your grandmother, people like that, were they were self-sufficient, strong women?
Right.
Yeah.
Same. So for me, that's why when I hear that, like when you say the thing about the standard, most people that I grew up around think like Trill.
That's you.
But that's what I know. That's what I'm saying.
I hear you.
To think and to assume that most people
I'm not
think
making
that, hey, no, if this woman isn't self-sufficient, she relies on me.
I'm not making an assumption. I'm basing it off of what I understand about people through the things that I studied, the things that I witnessed, and the things that I've experienced. Okay?
Right.
Most men, they're not looking for a woman that is their
we're gonna have to. We have to dive into the statistics.
We will.
Yeah.
Most men are not looking for women that are their social economic equal. They're not.
I'm not saying that.
But that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Right?
There we go. You just clarified it. You clarified it.
Because what he's talking about, people being held accountable as men, you know, you got your house together, you got your job together, you know, you got your emotions in check, you're not like, you know, doing all this stuff. Those are things that men are being held accountable for.
Right, but he himself.
No.
You hold a woman accountable to have those
no.
at least be able to be self-sufficient.
Hold on.
Right? Which is kind of in line with what you're saying.
No, hear me out. He said men are held to that standard, right? But he said him, right, and I consider it as a unique position, hold women. Hold on, hear me out. Just let me finish the thought.
Go ahead.
He holds women to that same standard. But what I'm saying is, based on my experience, things that I've read, studied, and things that I've witnessed, men don't typically hold women to that same standard.
And all I'm saying is I don't fully agree with that. I think that's an assumption.
It's true. How do you feel about that?
If you could show me data, you know how I am, bro. Like I'm a data guy. Like I work.
Let me tell you
I'm
something.
a data person. Show me the numbers.
Okay,
and I'll be like, cool. That makes sense.
Trill. Let me know your thoughts on this, right? How many men do you know will be like, I will not date a woman unless she makes more than me?
Nobody said that.
Okay. How many women do you know that say, I won't date a man unless he makes more than me? I'll wait.
A lot. Yeah, most of them.
That's what I'm saying, right? Just that conversation alone, it just tells you that men are being held to a different standard than women.
Right.
So my question is, what is the standard that is more important to a man than socioeconomic? Because clearly that's not as important to them as women. What are the standards? She needs to look good. She needs to be agreeable, right? She needs to have, you know, some level of support, right? Mm-hmm. So on and so forth. So my question is, why aren't we emphasizing that as the standard if that's what we're already pursuing as men, for most men? It might be different for Trill, it might be different for you,
and
so on and so forth.
I think again we would have to take a deeper dive into the data, and and look at different categories of social economics, right? Like, because I think when you get to a certain point, and again, this says a lot about your community, who's around you. And see, but that's the thing. You do that sometimes, or you think that you just know. It's not. But you're missing like 2 or 3 things, and you don't see it.
It's not about me not knowing, right?
Right. Go for it.
After this, I'll pull up the statistics. My freaking iPad died.
We're gonna definitely do
right.
That.
Basically, like if you look up the statistics of how many women would be, dude, I had this very conversation on Clubhouse, right? No. This is based on something I learned outside of Clubhouse, and I brought it into Clubhouse. Okay. Sure, let me know how you feel about this, right? So my homegirl sent me this article. Right. It wasn't an article. It was kind of like this story, or I don't know, whatever it was, where if you think about it like this, if a man owns a house outright, right? A house outright, and his woman rents, right? And then they decide to have a committed relationship, right? You know, and the man decides to move her in. The question was, would he charge her rent? You know what I'm saying? If he owns the house outright, right? Or is she let her ride pro bono or whatever? She just picks up some groceries here and there, right? And then you know, when I spoke to the women, they're like, oh, why would he charge me rent? This, that, and the third. You know, we're together, we're building, this, that, and the third, right? Look at him, he's smiling. He know where I'm headed with it. So then I flipped it, right? And I asked the question. I asked the ladies, I was like, yo, like, what if your man was in an apartment and you live in a home that you own outright, and y'all decide to make a committed relationship, and he's talking about like moving in with you, like, are you charging him rent? What the lady said, which blew up the whole conversation crazy, she said, well, I would wait for him to be able to buy his own house. Okay? Before, you know what I'm saying?
I mean, this is great, but I would want to see, like,
we
need data on the room. Like, okay, where do these people come from? What's their backgrounds? Like, how were they raised? Like, there's a million questions.
I agree with you. But outside of that room, I brought it into the room because I already looked into it. And the statistics are women usually look for someone who is more not sexually, social economically stable or abundant compared to them. Whereas men, we don't look at that. Like that's just, I don't want to say that's a known fact. We can look into that after this, but that's been the conversation that's kept men and women so toxic in how they interact with each other.
I see.
You see what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying.
What are your thoughts on that, Trill?
I agree. I think it just goes back to like what we value most in each other. Fact is, women value money in men, or not money, financial security is what they value in a man more so than anything else. Okay. And with a man, we value looks more so than anything else. Okay. So if she looks good, we're willing to bend on a lot of our other quote unquote requirements. The same way that if that man has money, she's willing to bend on a lot of her quote unquote requirements. So I feel like that notion, it makes sense because it caters to what we each value most in each other.
So would you say that women are held to a higher accountability with their looks?
That's hands down.
That's what I'm saying.
Hands down.
That's what I'm saying right there.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
You got there, bro. Relax.
You see what I'm saying?
Relax. Just chill out. You got there.
Oh, you get that? You were hitting me with this. No, you got to look at the statistics.
I still believe that.
Of course.
I still believe that.
The point,
like, you know me. Like, that's just my life.
The point I'm trying to make, as men, there's a lot of pressure on us socioeconomically. Trill touched on it, and it's very real, right? But women have another set of pressures that we don't deal with. That's what I'm saying. What are
hey Jeff, real quick, just to provide a little bit of pushback, right? I think you're 1,000% right initially, but after we're in that relationship and married, and she has kids and things of that nature, is she really held accountable for how she looks?
It evolves. It changes. That's another part of the conversation.
No, okay then.
Hold up.
That's what I said. But wait.
Jeff doesn't know. He hasn't gotten there yet. You got to get there.
Right. So okay. So hold on. But before you even answer that, same question in reverse. As a man, after we're married, kids, everything, is he still held to that same standard as far as bringing money into the house?
The only reason why it's imbalanced after you're married is because the laws don't help you keep the standards on both sides. No, hear me out.
You can only speak on this speculatively.
I'm not. Bro, hear me out. If you're married,
Trill, but you got to back me up on this. Like,
hear me out.
If you're not in relationships like that,
he reaching right now.
You don't know.
I'm not reaching.
Like, you don't know.
This is law.
Oh,
hear me out.
God.
This is law.
Right, this is law. Drop law on us.
No. I'm literally talking about the laws, right? Because I've spoken to lawyers about this. I'm not coming up with this out of my ass, right? So if you're married, right, as a man, right, you are legally supposed to maintain your woman's financial lifestyle within the marriage. Or when you're done with marriage, if you're getting divorced, the law is going to push for you to maintain. Listen to me.
Your law that depends on a plethora of other data.
No. What are you talking?
If the woman makes 10 times more than the man at the end of the relationship, let's say he got laid off.
First of all, I'm saying in most situations that's not the case, right? In most situations, the man is the earner in the relationship. So with that said, he is responsible to maintain. And same thing with a woman. If she is the financial earner, yeah, she's responsible for maintaining. Right. But I'm saying
so it's not so much about the gender as it is the positioning.
But in most cases, women won't date somebody who makes less. So therefore, most men are in the position where they have to be the high earner, and when they're high earner, the law says you have to maintain this woman's lifestyle, et cetera. But the law is not going to say. Hold on. The law is not going to say she has to maintain her value to you.
Right.
Sure.
But look. Okay. So legally, which I can't verify because I hadn't seen that. But here we go. Like let's remove ourselves from legally. Let's get to common perception. When a woman is in a relationship, a marriage, and she has kids, right? And she gains 50, 60 pounds.
Right.
She will not be vilified for that. But if a man that's in a relationship and married, say he loses his job or he gets a new job, he was making $120,000 when they first got together. Now he got a new job making $70,000. he will be vilified for that. Because again, there's a perception as to
money. Depending on how he manages his money.
And how he manages
Again, that's
his
why
relationship.
I say there's so many variables, right? Like, because, hey, if we're talking about people who make $250,000 a year, let's say, 200. If the man makes 150,
okay,
140, 130, whatever, I think that women in the 200 range or 250 range would be like, of course I'll date a man that makes $150,000. Why not? We can still live the life that I'm living right now. It's not going to change. That's why I say there's like,
but let's not get tied up with the money though. but wait. Let's not get tied up with the money. My point is there's extended accountability when you're a man to maintain that value that we both cherish in each other. Right, but with a woman, it's not there. A woman can be. That's what I'm saying. So if you met your woman, she's 120. If by divorce time, or not by divorce, but say 5 years in, she's 180. Yeah. You're still expected as a man to love her the exact same and to treat her the exact same. Mm-hmm. But if a man, say, just like I said, he come in making 120, he say, you know what? I don't want to be in corporate no more. I want to go stock boxes at Walmart. Now, all of our bills are still going to be paid. Now, we may not have as much extra money, but all our bills and everything that's necessary will be taken care of. He will be judged for that. That's just what it is. That's what I mean by the accountability is not the same.
I see.
So if you're in a relationship and your woman completely gets out of shape, crazy, right? Put kids aside, because right after kids, there's a impact to the body, right? But if it's like straight from like gluttony, her not taking care of herself before kids, or even after kids, because sometimes even after kids, you might gain some weight. But if you now become negligent with yourself, you're just adding to the problem, right?
Right.
So my thing is, a man might not openly, right, hold her accountable.
And why?
Hold on. Because he's concerned about her feelings.
Exactly. Right? That's my point.
No, I hear you, right? But the point is, some men will go out and cheat. Some men, they'll, show less love to the woman. Right? So it's not going to come out the same way, but he's still responding to that in a negative way. Right? For towards men, it's more upfront, right? And more blatant, because we're told that we're expected to take that type of criticism. Right? Be a man, man up, do whatever you got to do. But they're not saying like, hey, woman up, make sure your weight's right, make sure your femininity is right. They're not saying that, right? But we're still responding to the fact that if something goes wrong in that department, it's a problem, and we're reacting to it. It just looks different. So we do hold women to us. Go ahead.
Wait. No. Because I feel like cheating is like, okay, I'm going outside a relationship. Like there's no validation in cheating, right? But let's say she gained that 70, 80 pounds, 100 pounds, and you file for divorce. You'll be looked at as a monster for doing so. Like, why didn't you support your wife, get her back in shape? Like, it's your obligation. That's your wife. Like, you should have worked out with her, that type of situation. And just like you said, if she gains that weight, we're not going to call her on that. Why? Because we don't want to hurt her feelings. But if that man, like I said, went from 130,
feelings, or is it more about the perception from the outside? Because you look kind of like a dickhead if you file for divorce against your girl because she got fat.
Listen, man.
Let's keep it real.
But if she filed for divorce because you took that stock and box job, she will not be vilified for that.
That's a good point.
Because when I met you, you were making 120. Now you're making 70. Of course, all our bills are still made, but she's going to get crucified. She's not going to get vilified for that.
Usually we're eye to eye, but I don't 100% agree on that, right? Because dependent upon how deep the relationship is, right? Because this goes back to what is, like, outside of the tangible shit, what's your connection, right? Like, are you really in love and committed to making life work together? Or is it more about what's comfortable, what works for me, right? Not as opposed to us, right? So if she met him in this hypothetical situation,
okay,
he's making 120, he gets laid off, something happens, right? Now he's doing the packaging job, whatever you said, the boxing bag, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
If she were to leave him, that would actually be more of an indication that she never really believed him, because if you're capable of making 120 and then you just have a setback, if that person's really playing their position as a wife and really working towards making your reality, your life work together, she's going to help push you and support you doing that job, knowing that, hey, you're going to get back to where you were, maybe better, right? If she leaves in a situation like that, and other people who know you like, because at the end of the day, we care about what our social group says and thinks of us.
Right.
People would judge her for leaving him, right? In a situation like that, 100%.
No, not the same way. Nah, girl, I get it. He wasn't.
I'm not saying the
he
same
wasn't
way.
holding
I'm not saying the same
his,
way.
Nah, bro. Nah, I can't ride that train.
You know what?
Yeah.
Let that bag boy pull one of her friends after that, because it will happen too. It will happen because somebody will be judging and like, yo, he's capable of that. Like,
but hey though, but I do agree with what you said, but I think we arguing two different things. I think you arguing the morality of her leaving. I'm arguing the response and the expectation. That's what I mean by the accountability is not the same, because as a man, you're expected to maintain the reason that I chose you. Even if you fall back, there's an expectation of you to get back to that 120.
Right.
Even if, like I said, that guy is happy stocking boxes. You know what? This is way less pressure. I like my job with doing this. I don't want to make more money.
Yeah.
But he'll be judged for that compared to a woman. Like you know what I'm saying? The opposite way around. And that's what I mean by the accountability is not the same.
I got it. Okay.
I think we came to an understanding, and I do agree with what you're saying, and I'm glad we had the conversation in such a way. And this is what I enjoy about these conversations. Like, I like disagreeing with people that have different perspective, but when you like get to know a little bit about what their frame of mind is,
Right.
you kind of get a feel for like, okay, I don't have the answers. I don't have all the answers, Sway. Right? So So I appreciate everything you gave to this conversation. Before we wrap it up, do you have any like projects that you're working on that you want to share with everybody?
Yeah, man. What's new?
Man, I do, but a couple of them I can't really speak on yet because the ink is not dry. But as far as like the pod and all of that, man, we definitely got more episodes coming. But the next Battle of the Sexes will be here real soon. We are setting that up as we speak. I'm trying to get some women that can actually fight back. I feel like the last couple of times we've kind of, it's kind of been a little lopsided. So we're gonna try to change that going forward. You know what I'm saying? And try to bring some like I want like the most super feminist that I can find to debate these topics.
You want to get
Really?
cursed out on TV?
Right.
We talked about toxic masculinity, but we didn't get into toxic femininity.
Exactly.
Oh, damn.
You know,
that's another episode.
Yeah. But see that'll be fun for me because then we can match wits, we can match intellect, and like that's what I value most in Battle of the Sexes. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, that's coming soon. What else? New merch is coming soon. We're working on that. We got some different clothes and stuff that's coming, and then like I said, it's a couple things that I can't really speak on yet because the ink is not dry. But hopefully in the next couple weeks it should be an announcement. So stay tuned, man.
Bet.
All right.
The next time we have you on, you'll be able to speak on them, and they'll have come to fruition.
Nah, the next time we speak to him, he'll be
Definitely.
too big for us. He's still too big for us.
I was just gonna say he's too big for us right now.
Nah, it's
it's all love.
sis.
But how do people reach you? If they wanna,
your social media. Like how do people find you?
Yeah, Trill AC everywhere. That's Twitter, Instagram. Make sure y'all check out the Krew Season page. That's Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. TikTok is going crazy lately. So yeah, big, tap in, man.
People sleep on TikTok. TikTok is
man,
it's a whole other game.
Bro, I done got. We made our TikTok. I can't remember, maybe like 6 months ago or something. But when I first made it, I maybe put like 1 or 2 clips up. Didn't really do anything. So I just was like, forget it. And then maybe a month ago, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna really dive in this culture and like really try to navigate it. And in a month's time, I got 30,000 followers on TikTok.
See,
for the page.
The community element there is just, it's stronger than I think even Clubhouse. You're able to just
agree.
Streamline it. Yeah, it's wild.
I agree.
It's wild.
So, Mike,
we got to get a TikTok page. I know.
Yes, but give people your
But
social.
also, people can find me.
Give people your social.
Michaelangelo.Garland on all social media. If you want to hit me up on email, garland.michelangelo@gmail.com, or you could just hit the pod, the Introspect Room at gmail.com.
Or the Introspect Room on IG, Twitter, all that stuff.
All that.
I'm Jeff Damisse. You can reach out to me on IG, j.damisse. That's j.damisse. It's the same thing for Clubhouse. Twitter is j_Damisse, which is j_DAMISSE. Trill, this was a good conversation.
My guy, man.
We were all over the place. I like that.
Definitely, man. It was a pleasure.
It was a pleasure,
man. I appreciate y'all.
I appreciate you for joining us. And, say what's up to the rest of the fellas for us. And
definitely.
Until the next time, man.